Mhm.
What would you say the difference between Briahna and Candace is? Because you're comfortable coming here and talking about this with Briahna, but you seem to have you think Candace is in a different sort of league. Candace
Yeah,
Owens, I mean.
I would say I think Briahna knows better.
Hmm.
I think maybe there's a phrase, maybe Candace doesn't care enough to know. And I think, well, either you don't care enough to know enough to care. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to apply that here. I'm just saying that term loosely because it's an interesting phrase.
Yeah.
I think Briahna knows better and is choosing hate and disdain. I
Hmm.
think in Candace's case, there's a bit more of a lack of awareness or knowledge on the issue, and so she's going with her gut and like just kind of firing into the abyss. And so certain statements come off as crazy offensive, and she's responding to general pressure. If people react a certain way to this, it's like, huh, why can't? So there's she's provocative. Candace is provocative and will say things to demonstrate that she can say them.
Hmm.
And she's operating from a place of like responding to control and this pressure of feeling controlled. So I'm going to say something provocative. Why can't I talk about why the Nazis were like the Germans that were treated badly after World War II? I'm like, I guess you could talk about that, but it says something very odd and bizarre about where your priorities are.
Hmm.
But you could.
Right.
Is it animated by hate or is it animated by a need to push back against a sense of pressure and speech control? I think it's more the latter. I think her instincts, that doesn't mean she's not capable of saying anti Semitic things or emboldening anti Semitism. I think she does and is. But where it comes from is a place of responding to where the pressure is. And right now, obviously, post October 7th, the pressure is to talk about the Jewish community delicately.
Hmm.
And so rather than being sympathetic to that cause, Candace has said, okay, that's not me. I'm not going to be delicate because that's cancel culture, that's censorship, that's controlling my speech. And in doing so, she's taking the actions of, and she's contradicting her own principles by taking
Hmm.
the actions of certain nefarious Jews and saying this must be something else going on because she's maybe conspiratorially minded and has that kind of temperament. But hate, animosity, and hate and disdain, I don't think motivates Candace in the way that it motivates Briahna.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
that's where I think psychologically the two are very different.
Right.
And Briahna is investigating in some capacity, so she has the capacity to learn more about this issue. Candace is not a traditional journalist in that sense. She's commenting, she's going with her gut about what certain things she's curious, and she's
Hmm.
ending up with a lot of the wrong conclusions, in my opinion, and drawing a lot and connecting a lot of the wrong dots, and not using a lot of critical thinking where I think it calls for it. But I think Briahna could use critical thinking and is willfully either ignorant or willfully naive or malicious. She wants something out of this. She really does object.
Yeah.
She's not just
It's.
curious.
I think she already knew what she wanted to say before October 7th, and then October 7th happened, and she went, "Here's an opportunity to do it."
Yeah, yeah. So it comes from a darker place, I
I
think, from
think
her,
so.
as evidenced by I don't think Candace would ever interview the sister of a hostage, excuse me, and roll her eyes at that person. I just don't
Okay.
think she would ever do that. If she was talking to somebody, she would go, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that,"
Yeah.
and she might say that. She would say that to a Palestinian too.
Yeah.
I would say if we're just being honest, I could not imagine Candace rolling her eyes at the sister of someone who's been taken hostage by
Yeah.
Hamas.
No, it's I mean, she's the sister. The Israelis have been dehumanized, and I
Yeah.
think and so she doesn't have a problem rolling her eyes.
And
And I
Candace
think
had a conversation
we
with
have
Dave
about a
Smith.
minute before I
Yeah,
let
yeah. She had a conversation with Dave Smith where she said, and even Dave Smith, who I disagree on vehemently about this, has said, you do no service to the case for a Palestinian state or cause by saying, by ripping down posters or saying October 7th was justified in any way. It wasn't. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about the other stuff.
Mm.
And so, like, they at least have a little bit of a moral consistency there. And even Candace has said on her show, like, how horrible that is. And I don't support Hamas and all these other things. Now, I think she draws other weird conclusions that are bizarre and should be confronted and challenged for sure. And I look forward to that. But different than what's going on here with the Max Blumenthals, the Briahna Joy Grays, and the Norman Finkelsteins of the world who have a weird, deep, dark motivation
I'm gonna
going
throw a
on.
crystal ball in there too.
Yeah. Same idea.
All right.
Anyway, pleasure unpacking this with you, Michael. My
You
voice
too.
is still a little sore.
Yeah.
And Brianna's welcome on the show anytime.
I feel like an idiot for naming her Briahna, like in September.
Give her a little pet.
Stupid. It was just
Give her a little pet. Yes. The reveal at the end of this episode is that the daughter on your chest right now is named Briahna. She's welcome on the show anytime.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you've made it this far, we want to let you know that Ami's House is now on Patreon. We love doing extra content, bonus footage with every episode. The best way to support us is to head on over to Patreon, become a guest, and support the show for $5 a month.
if you like watching Ami cut me off, Patreon is a
Patreon.com/Ami's House for bonus content.